Number 2, the answer was x is less than 2. So the graph would look like this. This one, f of 4x, was negative 48x squared minus 8x plus 4, if I remember correctly. And then for the bee farmer, it was 20 jars of lavender, 5 jars of lemon. I think that's right. Okay. Sorry, I had nice work and I accidentally pushed the wrong button and all my work, poof, gone, and it won't come back. Whatever. I'd be happy to show you some work if you want.
How many jars of lemon?
5. 5 jars of lemon honey, 20 jars of lavender honey. So number 4 is a systems of equations. Be happy to show you how to set that up. Number 3 is a function sort of a question. Number 2, obviously, solving a linear inequality. And number 1 was an order of operations question. I'd be happy to show you the steps on any of those if you'd like. Sasha?
Could you go over
Number 3, absolutely. Okay, so for number 3, when we are given a function, like we are right here, and then we're asked later on to evaluate that function, find f of whatever, what that means is when you're finding f of something, whatever that something is, you're going to replace all of the inputs with that something. So in the past, we found like f of 3, which means plug in a 3 for all the x's. We found f of negative 7, which means plug in a negative 7 for all the x's. Here, it says find f of 4x. So what that means is wherever you see an x, you put 4x. So I would write for our first step something like this. F of 4x equals negative 3, parentheses, 4x squared. Notice how I've replaced that x with 4x. Minus 2 parentheses, I'll replace that x with a 4x, and then plus 4. So once I get to this point, I'm going to follow my order of operations to simplify, and I'll do my exponents first. So that would be negative 3 times 16x squared. That make sense? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, 2 times 4x is 8x, so it would be minus 8x plus 4. And then lastly, I would do that little multiplication there, so I'd get f of 4x equals negative 48x squared minus 8x plus 4. Okay. Bray.
Can you show me how to set up number 4?
Yeah, absolutely. So number 4, I'd say number 4 is, I'd probably refer to it as like kind of a classic value quantity equation, because basically we know how many total jars were sold. We know how much total money this guy got, but we don't know how it worked out, how the details worked out, right? And so one thing you could do here is you could set up your variables. I'm going to use x's and y's because lavender and lemon both start with the letter L. So I'll just use an x and a y here. So I'll come off to the side and I'll say x stands for number of jars of lavender honey, and y is the number of jars for the lemon honey. You could set it up the other way. It doesn't really matter. Just be consistent. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to try to translate the words that I see in that paragraph into math. So to me, the easiest one to translate, and you don't have to go in order here at all. The order I would go in is like what's easiest. I wouldn't make it too complicated. I'll make it as simple as I can at least. So it says, if he sold 25 jars last week. So I don't know, I guess I do, but 10 minutes ago I didn't know. Does that mean he sold 18 jars of lemon and 7 jars of lavender? Or maybe it was 10 jars of lavender and 15 jars of lemon. I don't know. Any of those combinations where he sold a total of 25 jars last week. So I want to try to write an equation that expresses that, right? So if I wanted to get the total number of jars that he sold, what would I need to do with my x and my y? So if I add, okay, so...
Could he sell 24 jars of lemon and 1 jar of lavender?
Could be. Or it could be 25 and 0. It couldn't be 27 and negative 2, obviously, right? Because you can't sell negative 2 jars. But any positive combinations or non-negative combinations would work fine. Okay, so Bray, you said we need to add them. So if I take the number of jars of lavender and the number of jars of lemon and I add them up, what number should I get?
11.
Not 11.
4 plus 7.
Oh, I see what you're doing. So I'm looking for the number of jars. The 4 and the 7. What are the 4 and the 7?
Oh man, the dollars.
Those are dollars. So if I said, how many jars did you sell? And you said $11. You're kind of answering with the wrong units, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how many jars did this guy sell?
25.
So if I add x plus y, what should I get?
25.
25. So one of your equations should simply have to do with how many things are involved here. In this case, there's 25 things that are involved. And if I add x plus y, I should get that 25. The other equation should have to do with cost or money, some kind of value.
So then it'll be like 7 plus 4.
So you want to be really careful here because it's $7 for each jar. It's not just a total of $7 and a total of $4. Each jar, this is expensive honey, costs $7 or $4, depending on which one you buy. So we decided that the number of lavender jars would be X. So if each one of those costs $7 and I sell X of them, how much money would I get from just the sale of those jars?
Did it tell you, like,
Oh, hold on. I want to get a simple answer to the question. We can talk about. Did anybody know? Okay, so let's do this. Let's do a little exercise. Each jar costs $7. What if he sold 2 of them? How much money would he get? How did you get 14?
Because each jar is
No.
add.
$7 each, 2 jars.
You add.
I don't want to do 7 plus.
add, you multiply.
I want to multiply 7 times 2. Of course, 7 plus 7 and 7 times 2.
Same thing.
It's the same thing. So I want to multiply here. It's going to make it easier on us to multiply. Okay, so $7 each. He sold 2 of them. The amount of money he got was 7 times 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stay with me. I'm trying to lead you somewhere. So try to go with me where I'm going. What if he sold 5 jars? What would you do? Now, what would you do? Multiply what? Okay, so if he sold 2 of them, you do 7 times 2. If he sold 5 of them, you do 7 times 5. What if he sold 39 of them? What would you do?
7 times 30.
What if he sold X of them? What would you do?
7 times X.
7 times X, or just 7X. So I would say 7X would be the dollars that he got from selling the lavender jars. So how much would he get for selling Y lemon jars?
Don't you just multiply it by how many jars he sold? That's right.
How many jars did he sell?
20 jars of lavender.
No.
5 jars of lemon.
We know he sold, we know he sold, no, listen. We know he sold a total of 25 jars. Does that mean he sold 25 lavender and 25 lemon? Because that would mean he sold 50 jars total, right? We know that he sold a total of 25, but we don't know if it's 19 and 6, 7 and 18, 9 and 16, 1 and 24, 25, we don't have a clue, right? So that's why we've got to represent the number of jars with variables, because we don't know yet. So nobody's answered my question yet. If each of those lemon jars is $4 and he sold Y of them, how much money did he get from those?
Or Y.
4Y. So I would take the amount of money from the lavender and I would add it to the amount of money from the lemon honey, the amount of money from the lemon honey. That rhymes, I guess. And what should that equal? Oh, come on, don't tell me 25. 25 is not a dollar amount. It should be $160. So I would say perhaps partly at the core of our struggles, listen please, partly at the core of our struggles is mixing up the meaning between the number of items and the dollar amount of those items, right? We want to keep those straight and separate and considered, right? So if you take the amount of money from the lavender plus the amount of money from the lemon, we add it up, we should get the total amount of money that this guy got, and that was $160. So that's your setup. That's your setup. And then I know when I did this, I chose to use elimination. I just multiplied the top row by -4, and it worked out very nicely. Okay. What else can I do for you all? Any questions on 1? All I did was give you an answer there. Or 2. Number 2, you had to do, you really probably had to do a flipping of the inequality symbol. So number 2 is pretty challenging, perhaps. Okay. How are we doing? Okay, fair enough. We are going to be doing some review all week. Tomorrow we'll do a DMR to start things off, and then we'll do some more review. Same thing with Thursday. I want to remind you, your test is this Friday. There is a large, very large web assignment that's due for that. It's a review, right? And part of what we'll do tomorrow and part of what we'll do on Wednesday is to give you class time to work on that review. So please bring a computer, if possible, or a phone with you tomorrow so that you can work really, really hard on your review and get most of that done here in class instead of having to take a ton of homework home. That make sense? Okay. If you would, locate a little whiteboard in the back. I think we've got enough for everybody, and a marker. And return to your seats. We're going to do a little bit of reviewing here. So let's get going with that.